when we think about mindful eating, when we think about food in general, we often view food as either good or bad. What's the harm in that?
Yeah, the harm in that is that when you're super restrictive with what you eat, it can really lead to this vicious cycle of feeling bad and guilty and then having these wanting to be a rebel and divulge in those foods. And these restrictive diets, they generally don't tend to work well in the long term. These diets often lead to deprivation, frustration, and unnecessary stress. And when we're told you can't eat that, sometimes what happens is that we feel like more inclined wanting to eat it more, and then when we do we feel really bad and guilty. Yeah.
So it's
And
that psychology of you can't do that. Oh, but now I really want to do that.
I know, and then you can't stop thinking about it, and then you give in, and then you feel bad. Yeah.
So, mindful eating, what exactly is mindful eating?
Mindful eating is a way to heal our relationship with food. It allows us to tap into our natural intuition that tells us when we are truly hungry, when we are full, and if this food fuels my body or does it deplete it. And when we notice how foods make us feel both emotionally and physically, we learn from those experiences and can make a conscious decision about those foods moving forward.
Sounds healthy, but how do we go about building the habit of mindful eating?
Yeah, great question. So I would say start by being intentional and having a greater purpose. Mindful eating is about awareness and purpose. Think about a purpose that would motivate and inspire you. Maybe it's having the energy to get through your busy day or play with your kids. Maybe it's simply to feel good in your body and feel nourished.
It sounds like I personally am guilty of just eating because I'm bored sometimes. So
Mhm.
so asking yourself that question, am I really hungry? Do I really need to feed my body right now?
When you actually stop to think about it, you actually can notice, okay, if you're hungry, yes, pick a food that would be in alignment with your purpose. But if you're not really hungry, if there's something else going on, you really need to look at that and address it. It could be stress, it could be fatigue or boredom. I'm totally guilty of that, of just, mindlessly putting in food into my mouth when I'm watching a show. It's very common. And if it is that we're stressed, we need to take a moment and pause and think about, is this going to be nourishing for me? If we just even slow down with our eating process itself, we can develop more awareness of what our bodies need.
When you say picking foods that fulfill our purpose, what
Mhm.
does that look like? I mean, is that, I need protein because I'm getting tired, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's kind of like experimenting with your body. There's all sorts of diets like high protein or low carb or high fat, low fat, like all sorts of various foods. And it's really about tuning into your body and seeing like what amount of protein makes me feel good. Maybe having too much doesn't makes you feel like heavy and weighted down, but finding like that right amount gives you energy to get through your day.
This may be a redundant question, but one of the last tips you have is letting go of control, which seems counterintuitive to what we just talked about. What does that mean to you?
Trying to control our food is similar to trying to control our emotions. It doesn't usually work well. When we're controlling and being strict with our food, that leads to that vicious cycle of like pain, pleasure, struggle, like guilt, like all of those things. And that's not the goal. Our goal is to be in charge, meaning that we are able to make that conscious decision to eat or not eat that food. It's our choice, and we're learning from that experience. And when we eat that food, we're asking ourselves, how did it make me feel? Would I do this again? What can I do moving forward? Because if it made you feel like gross and lethargic, then you can use that information. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean you never eat that food ever again, but you can use that information from that past experience to determine, do I really want to feel like that moving forward? And with mindful eating, all food is okay, but we have to have flexibility, adaptability to make adjustments based on our mood, our purpose, and our circumstances. Maybe for special occasions, you can have a little bit of cake. But, developing more awareness of our emotional state can positively impact our ability to mindfully eat.